Welcome to Chapter 7. In this chapter we're going to go over the model known as FAM. So first let me play through the presets so you get an idea of what it sounds like. This is organ 1. Let's go to piano 1. Okay, percussion 1. Okay, let's go to percussion 2. Okay, now we'll do synth 1. Let's go to synth 2. Synth 3. Synth 4. Synth 5. And synth 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back down here to the first preset, organ 1, and I'll use this to show you the DSP that's involved in making this sound. So first of all, this is a very simple program. It has 2 layers, and on layer 1 we essentially have what I'll call an AM operator. We have a sawtooth wave, non-aliasing sawtooth wave going into this X gain block along with the sine wave. So this allows these two to interact via amplitude modulation. So there's not really a carrier and operator necessarily, or they can switch places. For instance, if I pitch the sine block all the way down to sub-audio frequencies, you'll hear the sawtooth wave being played back with an amplitude envelope essentially applied to it of the sine wave. Okay, so let's go up to layer 2. So this goes through a gain block into a saw plus shaper, which is essentially an FM operator, and then through a non-resonant low-pass filter. So in the next part of this video, I'm going to show you how to use the sliders to make your own sounds using FAM. Okay, so let's now go over some of the sounds you can make with FAM and how to use the sliders to create those sounds. Okay, so first of all, let me play this with all the sliders all the way down. We'll just go ahead and initialize them again real quick. Make sure everything is set to 0. Make sure SW is off and the mod wheel down. So with the mod wheel down, our non-resonant low-pass filter is completely closed. And we're going to be playing notes that are pretty low in the audio spectrum. For instance, this is C4, and you don't really hear anything. So let's play really high up on the keyboard here. So that would be C5, C6, C7. And you may just barely be able to hear that on the video here because of how... There we go. So you start out with this very low sound. A lot of that has to do with the fact that all of the oscillators, okay, so our sine wave, our sawtooth wave, and our saw plus shaper are all pitched way down. For instance, the sine wave and the sawtooth wave, they can pitch themselves down to minus 7200 cents. The range is from minus 7200 cents to 0. And our saw plus shaper can be tuned between a value of minus 4800 cents and then plus 2400 cents. So these can be pitched way down and make very sort of bassy sounds, but the more important part is we can use these two in their AM configuration to provide some sub-audio rate modulation. So basically the oscillators can turn into sort of simple LFOs. So let me go ahead and show you what all this sounds like. So first of all, I'm going to open up the filter. Okay, so there's our basic sound. So let's start by bringing up the frequency of our sine wave. Okay, and let's bring that all the way back down. Now we're going to bring up the frequency of our saw wave. Now remember, this sawtooth wave is having its amplitude modulated by the sine wave, and so that's what you're hearing. And there's key tracking turned on, so down here you can really hear it. Okay, so these go through this X gain block, and the X gain block has a slider that controls gain, which also essentially controls the depth of the effect. Okay, and then this goes through another gain block, which then determines the level going into this shaper over here, or this FM operator over here. So let me go ahead and bring up this FM operator while I'm holding down a key. Again, I have a sawtooth wave being modulated by a sine wave at sub-audio frequencies going into saw plus shaper over here. So there we go. We have almost kind of a weird sort of warbly organ sound there. Okay, so all of these are interactive in lots of ways. So let me, for instance, let's change this a little bit. So now we have our sine wave being modulated by the sawtooth wave at basically at sub-audio frequencies, which results basically in amplitude modulation going into our saw plus shaper block. And you can hear the sidebands, especially the lower sidebands, are essentially being gated because of how this works. So if I bring up this frequency now, now I have something a lot more complex going on than either simple AM or simple FM, because of how everything is wired together, and I can control sort of how many harmonics, or what the harmonic output is essentially of the final sound, by throwing in sliders C and D, by changing both the depth of the AM modulation that's going on, and also by changing the gain of the overall signal coming out of essentially our AM operator. Okay, so let me go over the other sliders here. So you've got attack, decay, and release. Again, decay, very short when it's at the top of its travel, no decay at the bottom of its travel, and then this is release. Release time, more release time at the top of the travel and less at the bottom. And these two are interactive. So if I do this, I have a very, very long release time. If I do this, I have a short decay, but I also have a short release. Okay. Slider I will bring in a chorus reverb effect. Sounds like that. And SW will bring in a distortion. This is the same distortion that's, let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is the same distortion that we use on Bad, which is based on a Herbie Hancock sound. And so it adds sort of some extra oomph to the sound. Okay, and finally, this is a non-resonant low-pass filter here on the mod wheel. So as I lower this, So I can use that to, so I can add in harmonics, obviously with the AM/FM configuration, but then I can dial back. Say I want to just take a bit off the top. I want the body of the sound to stay the same. I just want to roll back some of those higher harmonics. I can do that. So we go from this to something more like this. And then if we take off the effects and we go back a little bit here, then we have this. Okay, and that does it for FAM. In the next video, we will talk about one of my personal favorites in the series called What?